When you're ready.
A photo?
I got it already.
Industrialization disrupting animal microevolution. The question that I wanted to answer is industrialization altering the rate at which microevolution is occurring? My thesis states that industrialization is altering the rate at which microevolution is occurring. In general, new strategies ought to be implemented to stop this alteration. The lenses that I will be using is the scientific and historical lens, and the synthesis material that I used is the article of Urban Evolution and the Dark Side of Resilience article. So, what is industrialization? There are four main types of industrialization: manufacturing, mining, transportation, and retail. Technology started to increase before the Civil War, and after the Civil War, it took a boom, causing the Industrial Revolution. Inventors like Thomas Edison and Alexander Bell created new technologies, such as the telephone and the light bulb. As well, with these new technologies, new advancements in transport started to take place, with railroads. This fueled the rise for American cities. However, with these new cities and inventions, it did alter the way that animals live in nature. How does industrialization result in animals needing to adapt? Similarly to highways, railroads cause habitat fragmentation and various impacts on wildlife, shown in this quote. Along with factories producing more pollution and humans using an excess amount of energy, this spurred the new environmental development, resulting in adaptations. Adapting is a biological process through organisms changing because of their environment. George de Buffon, a scientist who studied adaptation, believed that organisms change over time by adapting to their environments of their geographical locations. Natural selection states characteristics that are passed down enable animals to adapt as a result of their environment, to be able to effectively reproduce and function better than before. This image shows that it is driven by the inner need. How does adaptation connect to microevolution? One of the six types of conditions that need to take place that need to be broken so microevolution can occur is natural selection. There are 5 other types which I will not be going into, and the main condition that I will be going into is natural selection. Natural selection is a key factor that allows microevolution to take place that promotes adaptation. So what is microevolution? It is an evolutionary change of a small group of animals in a short period of time. An example of this would be the black-peppered moth. Found in the stimulus material, Urban Evolution, How Species Adapt to Survive in Cities, is a perfect example of industrialization altering microevolution. During the Industrial Revolution, these moths resided in places where coal factories were and used camouflage to blend in from their predators. However, when coal started to be used at a rapid rate, it turned the trees from peppered to black, making these moths stick out like a sore thumb. But there was a mutation in existence on the gene cortex. Due to increased industrialization, these animals had to microevolve and change their cortex gene at a rapid rate from peppered to black, increasing the natural speed at which these moths would normally adapt to their environment. The definition of resilience that I will be using today is from the article, The Dark Side of Resilience. It is defined as the psychological capacity to adapt to stressful circumstances and to bounce back from adverse events. These moths are an example of resilience through unwarning nature of humanity. The psychological effects of being hunted 24/7 took a toll on them. And so they needed to change their genetic DNA to be able to survive, in which they were successful at doing so. Analyzing the Dark Side of Resilience article showed me that in all animal cases where infiltration of humans took place, it is always a traumatic event, making this resilience a useful trait and not taken too far. Overall, industrialization connects to microevolution. because it is the root cause for these animals having to adapt at such a rapid rate. With black pepper moths, it would not have been necessary for them to adapt if industrialization of these coal factories did not take place. This is not only increasing the speed at which microevolution needs to occur, but also increasing the frequency at which microevolution needs to occur for these animals to survive. Many on the opposition of the argument argue that industrialization is necessary, bringing juxtaposition for their argument. However, it is not necessary in excess. Moderation is key. Overall, there is nothing wrong with microevolution, but it is wrong that these animals are having to microevolve at a frequent level, increasing harmful mutations like cancer and death because of too many modifications to the DNA sequence. There is still a possibility for humans to slow down the rate at which animals need to microevolve so they do not die and go extinct. Eliminating pollution is not a feasible option, but we could reuse and recycle. And as well with reducing the amount of gas emissions we put into this planet, and we could also stop releasing excess toxic vapors into the air. All of these are successful in decreasing the amount of human waste. It is important to pay attention to the environment surrounding us, including animals, because if they don't live, neither do we.
How did your research question evolve as you moved through the process?
Firstly, I created an outline of what I needed to research to give myself a better understanding of the topic at hand. With this, I created a thesis and then started to look into lenses that I would be using. With the lenses, I picked 3 main statements or questions that I was trying to answer, and continued filling in my research with smaller questions to provide more information for the broader ones. I was able to answer these smaller questions which backed up my bigger ones, making it easier to find gaps in my presentation that didn't make total sense, and thus I was able to fix them.
Okay, thank you. What additional questions emerged from your research, and why are they important?
Additional questions that emerged from my research concern whether microevolution is harmful, whether microevolution is harmful altogether. Questions like, why do animals need to microevolve, and what are the benefits of microevolution, prompted a need for more research and a more detailed explanation of why microevolution isn't completely harmful, but it should be kept to a minimum. All in all, I was able to prove that industrialization has a serious impact and needs to be reduced.